Hey guys, in this sort of Confedera video, I'll be giving my thoughts and opinion on the upcoming banner in the global version of the game that features Acambe. If you've played the latest Spirals of Destiny beacon, then you've probably already seen Acambe featured in the story there. Acambe is a magic DPS and he's the first summoner type character that we get in the global version of the game. Being a summoner, he can summon multiple shadow assassins out into battle, which are seeker type units, and these summon units have 85% of Acambe's attack stat, but only 20% of his health and defense. What sets him apart from other characters we've had up till now is that his trait actually allows him to hold more energy in battle versus the conventional 5 energy. At 1 to 2 star, his trait allows him to have 7 max energy in battle, and at 3 stars and above, he can have up to 9 energy. This is very important based on his playstyle because his skills and summoning his shadow assassins do take quite a bit of energy, so being able to stockpile up to 7 or 9 energy means that it's easier to use his skills from turn after turn, especially if you have battery type characters in battle as well. The other thing that I find notable about Acambe is he gets access to all his key skills pretty early on, from rank 1 up to rank 7. At rank 1, you can unlock a support type skill called Potential Stimulation. This of course can be helpful to buff other allies, but you can also of course use it to buff his shadow assassin to have it deal more damage. At rank 3, Acambe gets a decision type skill called Spend a Fortune. This is similar to say Cocoa's skill, but instead of Cocoa he gets only 2 choices here, but both are extremely powerful. The first is an instant skill, meaning that he can move or act again after using it, and this is sort of like a repositioning skill where he can reposition his shadow assassin or enemy units within 3 tiles, and also debuff any enemy units caught in that skill range with movement 2 debuff, magic defense 2 debuff, and null assist. The second choice that he has is also very powerful as well. It's very similar to the AoE buff that Gloria or Cocoa can do, in that it's a 3 tile radius centered around himself, and it buffs all allies within it with attack 2 up, physical defense 2, magic defense 2 up, and if any of those units are a summon unit, the summon unit also gets an attack 4 buff up, which is pretty massive overall. Beyond the buff, this skill also gives all ally units within the radius 1 energy, as well as reducing the skills of all cooldown by 1 turn. For a single skill use, I think that's really powerful at this stage of the game. As per all units at rank 5, Acambe will unlock reaction skills, and one of the reaction jumps up, which is the one that allows his summon units that are within 2 tiles away to take damage on his behalf. So Acambe gets sort of like a special cover assist from his summon units, and this helps him to stay around in battle much longer. At rank 7, you unlock one of his key skills. Rank 7 unlocks an AoE magic damage attack, and at 90% potency for an AoE attack, it already does pretty nice damage overall. But it's not only that, it also knocks back all enemy units by 2 squares, and summons shadow assassins on the 1x3 area in front of him. So all in one, it's an AoE magic attack, it's a knockback skill that is also AoE, and it summons shadow assassin all in one move. It does come with a drawback though, in that after using that skill, it will debuff Acambe with a null energy recovery debuff, and this debuff cannot be cleansed or dispelled, but one important distinction is that it can be immunized against. I'll cover that more in a short while. Before that though, something that I find interesting is that his rank 7 actually synergizes well with his rank 3. So for example, you can use his rank 3 instant ability to reposition enemies very near a cliff or an edge, somewhere, and since it's instant, he can get to go again, allowing him to then use his rank 7 to knock back all the enemies off the cliff. This means that in PvP, if you are ever facing Acambe, you need to be extremely careful as you are approaching him, because if there are cliff or body of water nearby, you could potentially see 2 or 3 of your characters get knocked back into the cliff or the body of water, even if you try to position yourself away. One thing to note about Acambe though is that he is pretty gear dependent. First of all, his rank 7 skill will debuff him with null energy recovery, and that debuff in particular is pretty crippling to Acambe because he does need his energy, and he does need a lot of energy to function really well. So something that's really mandatory for him if you are planning to use him is the fancy hat accessory. The fancy hat gives him immunity to disrupt, and this will also include null energy recovery. So as long as he's equipping his fancy hat and is in healthy status, his rank 7 skill will not be able to land that debuff on him, meaning that he will still be able to regain his energy normally. Of course, this only works if he is healthy, so something about Acambe is you really don't want him to be taking damage and going into injured or dying status, because once that happens, using his rank 7 will land a debuff on him, which essentially will shut him down. Since energy is pretty important for Acambe, there are 2 weapons in particular that jump out. The first is the cornucopia staff, which I think is probably the better of the 2. Unfortunately, of course, the cornucopia staff does require you to invest in the cornucopia blessing, which is sort of like the battle pass for the game. That stuff is pretty good because even at 1 star, it does give him a fairly good chance to recover energy after every turn, and obviously this gets better the higher rank it is. But if you don't have that stuff and you don't want to buy the battle pass, the alternative here is the skeleton staff. The skeleton staff does increase his HP pool, which means you have a little bit more leeway before he changes into injured or dying status, for example. But importantly, the skeleton staff synergizes well with his role, because anytime an allied unit dies, and this includes summoned units as well, the skeleton staff will give Acambe 1 energy. The drawback about this staff is that it can only give 1 bonus energy per round, regardless of how many allied units gets KO'd. So at best, Acambe is just getting 1 extra energy per round, which is already actually pretty good overall. That means that along with his natural energy regen, that's 2 energy per round. And at least with Acambe, we finally get someone who can really make good use of the skeleton staff. So finally, in summary and my thoughts and opinion about Acambe, what's really interesting of course is that Acambe is our first summoner type magic DPS. His role I think will function actually pretty well in PvP, because if you think about it, if he does have summon units, and those summon units can do pretty good damage, especially if you have some sort of buffer in your party such as Cocoa. So if you're facing against Acambe, it's really very difficult because you have to spend your attacks to kill off his summon units, otherwise they would do respectable damage on your party. But if you think about it, if you are attacking his summon units, that also means that you are not attacking the enemy party. So in a way, his summon units act sort of like a pseudo shield where they draw your attacks. In PvE, I think he's no slouch either, though normally in PvE I would rather just be able to deal direct damage to the enemies, because in most stages you'll be able to one-shot them. But having summon units isn't so bad either. I think it just takes a little bit more work, but if you invest in Acambe well enough, his summon units should be able to clear the map pretty well as well. Something that's good for Acambe is that his key skills are unlocked pretty early, so if you are fairly new to the game, for example, and your Voyager rank isn't up there yet, the good thing is that Acambe should still serve you very well, because his early skills are his most powerful skills and you get access to them at lower ranks. The drawback though is that he does need some key gear. His weapon isn't as important, though it does make him run a bit more smoothly with the energy regain, but his critical gear that he needs should be the fancy hat, because his rank 7 skill is one of his bread and butter skills. Overall, I think he is a good pickup if you really need another magic DPS, or obviously if you want to have a summoner type character in your roster. For myself though, I am pretty happy overall with my current magic DPS. I currently have Nungle and Momo, who also share the same type of character as Acambe, which is a destroyer type class. So for that reason, I don't really see a need for myself to pull, and I will likely be skipping the Acambe banner. Hope this video helps, and I'll catch you guys in the next banner review video. Bye!